Welcome back. My name is Darren Thomas and I am the Director of Educational Research Techniques. In this particular video, we're going to look at another function from the glue package, and that is we're going to focus on the glue collapse function in R. So let's go ahead and see what we can learn. So I'm already inside RStudio, as you can see, and we're going to be taking a look at the glue collapse function, as I've already mentioned. So let's go ahead and set up some preliminary stuff that we need. We're going to create a vector that's going to contain some text, some strings for us that we're going to manipulate. So let's go ahead and look at that. So in line 1, I'm going to load my package, glue. And then in line number 2, I'm making a vector called many_people. It has 4 names inside it. And then we're going to take a look at that so you can see how it changes as we manipulate it using the glue collapse function. So here we go. And then now we're going to take a look at it. So you can see right there our vector, everything's in quotes. So Mike's in quotes, Bob, James, and Sam. Notice also how there are no commas in between these strings. That'll be important in a second. And so now we're going to use our glue collapse function. What it does is it just collapses the string into one long line. And again, it's hard to talk about these things. Let's just see it. So here's my function, glue collapse in line 5. I'm using my vector many_people. And so here we go. The output is, of course, in the lower left-hand column, or lower left-hand corner of the screen, excuse me. And you can see now that it collapsed those separate items or, strings inside the many_people vector into just one long string there. That is what glue collapse does. And you might be wondering, well, what's the benefit of that? And again, as we go forward, you'll start to see some of the pros and cons of it. So now we're going to learn a little bit about the separate and last arguments when you use them with the glue collapse function. So here we go. We're using our function here in line 7, glue collapse. We've seen this vector before, many_people. And what we're doing now is we're separating every entry inside the many_people vector with a comma followed by a space. This is our first major argument here, our new argument. And then for the very last string inside that vector, we're going to have a comma followed by and in a space. And so what's going to happen is that you're going to have all the names separated by a comma, but between James and Sam, you will see the word and, almost to make it like a sentence, if you will. So here we go. I press Control Enter for line 7. And you can see now in the output in the lower left-hand corner, we have Mike, comma, Bob, Mike, comma, space, Bob, comma, space, James, comma, space, and then of course we have a space and then Sam. So this is a way to complete a string by giving it the use of the separate and last arguments. Now for our next trick, we're going to show you how you can team up this function with information that you might find inside a data frame. So first, I want to show you a picture of the data frame we're going to be using. So we're going to be using the species column from the IRIS data set. We're just going to look at the head of this to kind of get an idea of what it looks like. So you can see we got the first few rows here. 1, 2, 3, the first 6 rows. So they're all Setosa. This is a classic data set for people who are familiar with R. And then it tells us the levels. This is not as important for us right here, the levels, but it gives us that by default. Now I'm going to show you what happens when you use glue collapse. It's going to be just like with the column right here. So watch, the printout is going to be pretty long. So we're taking all of the rows from this particular column species from the IRIS data set, and we're going to get one giant string like this. See how everything is just kind of collapsed together. Again, at this particular moment, this does not seem beneficial, but you can see how you can work with this. And so if I really wanted to, I could use this in line 7 to make a really, really nice comma, 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 and the last one will have the word and in it. But we're not going to waste our time on that. Now, for our last trick, I'm going to show you how you can team up the glue function, which we learned in a prior video, with glue collapse. So this is a little bit more complicated. So let me see if I can kind of walk you through this here. Okay, so we have two functions going on here. We have a function called glue. We've seen this one before. It allows us to paste text together. It's kind of an upgrade over the paste function, if you will. And then inside that, we have the glue collapse. So what we're doing here is we're going to have this string here, hi, and we have a temporary variable here called more people. So we're going to say hi, and however we define more people is going to be inside those curly braces right there. And so right here, we define more people by using the glue collapse to collapse many people. This is the vector that we made at the beginning of this video. And then we're using our sep and last arguments right here to separate each word with a comma. And the last word is going to have the word and in front of it. That's what's happening here. So when we run all this, it's going to say hi, Bob, James, whatever the names were, and Sam. All right, so let's see if we can do this. All right, so we ran our code, and so now we have hi, just like we put here in line 13. And then more people is Mike, Bob, James, and Sam, all as defined right here in lines 14 and 15 of our code. So you can see that you can use these various functions we've talked about so far together in order to strengthen what you're able to do as you manipulate the data for whatever your purposes may be. So that's a quick, brief overview of what is possible with the glue_collapse function from the glue package. Let me just review what we discussed so far, and then we will wrap up this video. So in this video, we learned about how you can actually use the glue_collapse function. It's basically for collapsing the text for whatever purposes you may have. And then once you're able to manipulate it like that, you can use various arguments such as sep and last to break apart the various strings inside your vector or your column. We also looked at how you can use it with a data frame, which is kind of similar to a vector. It's really not that big of a deal. And we also looked at how you can team up the glue collapse function with the glue function using temporary variables and the sep and last argument. This was actually a rather complicated example here at the bottom, but nonetheless, it's just another option, another tool you can use in your data manipulation purposes. So my name is Darren Thomas. I am the Director of Educational Research Techniques. Thank you so much for watching, and you take care.